To the Big Island now, where a high school football player lucky to be alive tonight after suffering a brain injury that happened during a
Rain
game
said his
earlier
toughness
this month.
kept him from
After
telling
having
trainers
part
and
of his
coaches
skull
that he was
removed,
having headaches
Rain
and throwing up during
Tabandera-Martinez
Kealakehe's August
is on a
6th game
slow
against
road to
Kapolei.
recovery.
A neurologist says it's important to recognize the signs and symptoms of a brain injury, like the skull, like he did in practices and workouts to prepare for the and sensitivity.
I would do 100 more surgeries just to play a football game.
Is my mic good? My name is Tabandera-Martinez, and I'm a senior at Kealakehe High School.
Rain was always interested in football. He loved football from when he was young, and he put a lot of dedication into football.
Before Rain's injury, when he was getting into football, I was concerned because during Pop Warner, he was smaller and he would get injured. And then knowing he's going into high school where the kids are bigger, he worked really hard. He did everything he could, but just his stature was still like thinner and smaller. And I just had a feeling in this last year that maybe he should have chose something else. And that was before I couldn't imagine this injury happening to him. The day of his injury was August 6th, 2022. It was in Oahu. The Kealakehe played against Kapolei High School.
By halftime, my head was pounding, and I went to block this guy, and that was like the last hit that happened. It felt like my head was floating and then I was gonna fall backwards. So I put my head down and ran to the sideline.
There was just signaling to come to the field, and by the time I got to him, he was on the ground, jersey off and unconscious. So we checked his pupils and I saw the right side just blown, just big, and then the other one was normal. And in my experience, I already knew that was indicative of a head injury. I'm also an ICU nurse for like about a decade. So I already knew he needed what he needed right away if he had a chance. This can't be happening to my son because I've seen this happen and I've never seen anybody survive this. So I said, no way, it's not my son.
Later on in the evening, after his surgery, the doctor came in and they said they finished his surgery, they took out his skull. And his evaluation was either Ray not making it tonight or he might be brain dead for the rest of his life. And that's the best case scenario. The nurse kept asking him if he could hear her or hear him, squeeze their hand. He wasn't responding at all. His head was very swollen. We kept praying and praying. I kept praying and holding his hand, praying to God, please, you to take my son or bring him back.
So as a mother, you know, there's panic and fear and heartbreak and dread, and then a nurse part of me comes in and says, you know what's going on, Tiffany, like, don't be delusional. Like, and then so it's kind of telling the mother part of me, like, be ready to lose your son. And I would have a hard time accepting that.
And then after maybe like about a couple of hours, you know, he asked Rain, hey Rain, if you can hear me, squeeze me with your right hand, I believe. And Rain squeezed him with his right hand, and I started to yell even more. That means he's listening, he's functioning. And then we checked his lower body, wiggle his toes. He lift up his feet, and we just was all ecstatic. And honestly, it was a miracle. He woke up and he tapped my sweater, kind of reassuring me more than anything, he's gonna be okay. But that day was crazy. In 24 hours, that was like the craziest ride I ever did.
Thank you guys. Love you guys. And have a good day.
Love you, baby. Good job.
The most difficult part of The process of recovering for me was probably knowing that I had to go from being one of the strongest on the football team to learning how to walk again, not having a skull, and just feeling so weak that like your parents had to feed you from their hand.
Watching my son accepting that he cannot play something that he loves anymore. People don't understand how much hard work this kid does when nobody watching. He works his ass off. That following week was, I guess we played Aloha, and we watched it from a hotel, and he just broke down, and he was tough to hear him cry and try to accept that he cannot play no more, especially how he wanted to show out that year.
I started crying to him, and I started telling my dad like how hurt I felt because I love football so much, and like why did it have to happen to me? Like I could never play football ever again. So after I was going to Oahu for a while and going to speech therapy in Waimea, after I got cleared from that, I put back my skull on in December.
I mean, some days was good and a lot of days was bad. Rain is probably one of the most determined people I ever did witness, not because he's my son. It's honestly because he's one of the most determined persons I ever seen in my life. To firsthand watch what he went through. What Rain came out of is not funny. It's not easy. And even a month after he put on his skull, he stepped on the track field. That was crazy.
So I only had 1 month for my skull to heal, and I started track. And I did pretty good in track. I got fourth for the long jump, top 10 for the 400, and top 12 for the 200. But after the months went on, I could feel me recovering mentally.
I couldn't be more proud of him, like how much he's accomplished and how soon after his surgery and not even a year after his life-threatening injury, he just jumped right back into it and he did amazingly well. Like, he almost went to states, and that's crazy for somebody who couldn't barely even walk just months before. His first day back at school, this accident happened during the first week of his junior year. January 4th, he started third semester and he was able to come back and he was greeted with so much love. I think that's when it finally felt like it was going to be okay.
Aloha.
You're just lucky that they got to wake up and you could tell them good morning and you love them and you hug them. Because I promise you, you don't know. You don't know when anybody gonna go. So this experience has been good for me to appreciate the day, to appreciate the moment more than I ever did before. So that was my lesson for sure.
What I would like people to know about my injury is that whenever you're going through a hard time, there's always someone going through a hard time just like you, just in a different part of this world. And you can get through it because God wouldn't put you something through that you can't get through. No matter what happens, through ups and downs, just keep your head level and keep going. Because there's going to be seasons where it's bad and there's going to be seasons where it's good, but it's always in seasons. It's going to be over someday. Be grateful for everything that you have. Be grateful for tying your shoes. Be grateful that you get to go to work. Be grateful that you get to go to school, that you get to see your dad, that you get to see your mom, that you get to talk to your friends. Because anything could happen and that could be taken away from you. My name is Tabandera-Martinez, and this is my story.